NBA playoffs and NHL playoffs are in full swing. We've got props in both of those sports. Talk a little MLB props and some UFC props. We're going to go right into the NBA, where unders have been a huge story on the totals. But let's go over some potential unders here on some player props, Andrew. I'll get us started here real quick. I cashed on this one the other night. It was Brandon Ingram under his points, rebounds, and assists. And you can get that line at 31.5 still. He doesn't play till Saturday, but you can beat the line on this one. And I don't know if you've watched much of that series, but Dort for Oklahoma City is an absolute menace on defense. And he has been targeting Ingram and just making life hell for Ingram. So Ingram's gone under this points, rebounds, and assist total 2 games in a row. I'm probably going to come right back to it. Ingram had a lot of shot attempts in the first game. Didn't make a lot of them. He was a lot more efficient in game 2, and he still only had 25. So this PRA under is going under by 6 and 7 PRA here. Any other unders that we're looking at here in the NBA playoffs? Because obviously not a lot of points being scored in some of these games means not a lot of stats for these players. So what unders are we looking at?
Andy, the adjustment's been unbelievable. I mean, during the regular season, the totals, you get cut down almost by 20 points, and even that hasn't been enough for some of these matchups here, totals-wise. But, of course, we can make some money on the props. And what I like doing is if I like a guy to go under on his points, but I notice, hey, he's not getting that many rebounds, I like just tossing on another category. So points plus rebounds or points plus assists, just to get those extra couple numbers there to go under. And there's a couple guys actually that it really works out for. Former Toronto Raptor, Pascal Siakam, Spicy P, he's playing really well right now. But you can still take a look. He's gone under 37.5 points plus rebounds in 8 of his last 10 games. And you look at the matchup, actually, Milwaukee, they've dominated on the glass. Their boards have been great. They haven't allowed many offensive rebounds for the Indiana Pacers either. So even though Spicy P is getting all of his chances, he's been one of the main guys, averaging over 30 points a game. The rebounds haven't been there. So it's kind of a good opportunity to keep looking at the unders there. They're obviously setting that number high for a reason at 37.5. But to me, it's still worthy of looking at the under. And then another guy as well for it, Devin Booker, under 30.5 points plus rebounds. Look, I understand his number for rebounds, it's not that much. But the way I look at it is you're just getting a kicker. You're getting a couple more is the way I'm looking at it here. And the thing is about this Suns team, I've noticed, and I'm sure we can all agree here, is that they've got a couple different mouths to feed. And, I'm always a fan of depth, no matter what the sport is. I really am. But when you have so many guys, and I'm not saying that they're being selfish, but it just feels like there's going to be a couple possessions in a row where Booker's not even going to get a shot off. He might not even be in the play call, Andy. Whereas you look at the Booker of a few years ago, there would be 4 or 5 possessions in a row, and he might have 4 shots in that span. That's kind of changed right now. So I'm looking at the under for him. And overall, if I was looking at some overs, I've been finding some really, really funny, interesting ones that I've been betting, like steals and blocks a little bit. Norman Powell over on his blocks, Zubac over on his blocks, like just random guys like that you see that are kind of trending over, getting their blocks, getting steals and things like that. Terrence Mann over on blocks, just like different players like that. But as far as the actual serious plays for me, it's the unders. And you look at these guys that are the top of the leaders for their team, doesn't mean they're going over their props. I've noticed that all the time. These guys you see that are being highlighted as the players of the game for their team, in fact, they're actually just going under, and we're still making money on that.
Yeah, a spicy P. I will tell you, nobody has taken advantage of Giannis being out more than Siakam. It's obvious that Milwaukee has absolutely nobody. And I will just tell you, the Pacers are the kings of giving absolutely ridiculous contracts to guys that have one good playoff series. So Siakam is just, man, is he going to make a lot of money off of this one series? We love We love doing this. We love taking a small sample size in the postseason and giving him a ridiculous contract. That being said, I'm a big fan of Siakam. I like him. I think he fits in great with this team. Another one in that series, Andrew, the Milwaukee Bucks and Pacers. Bobby Portis is an interesting one to look at here. So his points, rebounds, and assists is 30.5, and he's landed on 27 exactly in the first two games of the series. And when we dig a little bit deeper inside the numbers, it's making more and more sense. This may turn out to be a client play. It's definitely going to hit the free play page, but I have a feeling this will be a 2% play. So, just his last 10 games without Giannis, you would think, oh, huge uptick in like points and rebounds and assists. Here's the thing. The books bake that into the line. So actually, his last 10 games on the road without Giannis in the lineup, he's gone under this total in 8 out of 10 games. That's 80% this year. So that's a really, really good number. And he's gone under in the last 4 games without Giannis. This is going to be a Pacers team that is going to run now that they're at home. So I think Portis might go under for the 3rd straight game in a row. So you get these inflated lines and like think, oh, Giannis, he's out. That means like everyone's going to get a huge uptick in stats, and somehow it just doesn't work out for everybody. So I think Portis might be the odd man out here. So points, rebounds, and assists for Bobby Portis under something I'll be looking at. Anything else in NBA that you had your eye on, Andrew?
Well, I heard you on WagerTalk today a few times mentioning the 3-point props, and I know that you've been cashing tickets on those, and those have been a lot to the over as well. And it's cool because you've got a lot of guys that just the way the game is evolving that take like 3 dribbles a game. They're just spreading out the floor. They're in their spots, and with how elite the passing is, you got a guy driving and kicking, and he hits them right in their hands, ready for the shot. And I swear I'm not doing this on purpose, but another former Raptor, Norman Powell, over 1.5 made 3-pointers, at a pretty good price there. And he's got that in 7 of his last 10 games. They don't really need him attacking the hoop. He still can put the ball in the court. He still can get his defender moving a little bit. But for the most part now, he's kind of been that corner 3 guy. He's been the guy that if they draw attention, if Kawhi draws a double, if someone's kind of attracting all kinds of people, they throw it out to Powell. And, it is frustrating because I have been monitoring that play a little bit. And, there'll be some games where he has like, a 2-point shot where he's like three feet inside the 3-point line, and you're like, oh man, just stay out there, like hit that 3. But he's someone that I have my eye on, and that 3-point props has actually been a really, really good one to watch. And imagine if you had some of those bets during the Miami game in game 2. Those guys, holy smokes, the way that they couldn't miss from 3-point land, and they realized maybe we're not going to try and go in the paint. We're going to just keep shooting threes. Imagine, Andy, if you could bet, kind of like with NFL targets, if you could bet 3-point attempts for some guys, just like, this guy, no matter what happens, he's going to shoot a lot tonight, over 7.5 3-pointer attempts. But Powell's a guy I have my eye on right now.
Love it. Yeah, I listen. I lost a rebounds and assist prop in the Celtics game. I had Peyton Pritchard over. Andrew, it's hard to get rebounds when the Heat are hitting every shot they throw in the air. So it's, just one of those things. It's like, I guess all the Celtics are going under their rebounds tonight. Let's take a look at some NHL props here. It's interesting. So you think the card tomorrow is much better than the card tonight? That's interesting. There's a couple games that have my interest tonight. So I guess, why do you think the card is a lot better on Saturday? What games have your interest peaked?
When I said that, I meant more from like a fan perspective. Like, I think it's more entertaining. Okay. But then again, at this point, if you look at the Lightning and Panthers series, that's, the Lightning could get swept.
Games,
so
how is it 3-0? Like how is
that's true. I can't. Yeah, I can't really say that, can I? When it comes down to it, but Andy, I got a question for you because I wanted to talk about this on the show today. You've had a lot of success betting unders this season. A lot. You've had a tremendous season, and I've been looking at it as well. Made a couple under bets with some of these forwards But one thing I always notice in the NHL, and I was on another show talking about this as well, that for a lot of teams, it's really chalky. It's top heavy as far as the goal scoring, because it's so much tighter. It's not as crazy as it is in the NBA as far, we're not seeing like 2-0 games, like the drastic change in unders in the NBA. But have you been able to pick like some bottom 6 pairing guys that have like decent prices and just pick them off to not do well and not have a point? Because for me, when I'm betting overs right now, like if you look at the Leafs, the game-winning goal in the game that they won in the series so far, Austin Matthews scored. Brad Marchand, the captain for the Bruins, he scores last game. David Pastrnak scores the game before. You look for the Panthers, they've had Verhaeghe, Reinhart, all their top guys pretty much score. If you're betting on the Avalanche, you could literally bet goal scoring props on Rantanen, McKinnon, and Makar, and you might go 2 for 3 in all those games. Seriously. And, most of them are plus money. So do you think that it's really good to look at, these unders because you pretty much know who the scorers are going to be? It's not as much of a shocker as it is during the regular season sometimes.
Yeah, the books have certainly caught up on the lines. That's for sure. Like you're not getting good prices, and so a lot of the guys that I want to take under, the books know, and they're just like, no, you got to pay minus 230 for that. I'll give you a good example. I had Tyler Bertuzzi to not have a point, and he never scores against Boston, but it's playoffs. It's a little different. So what happens? He doesn't have a point in the first game, and then he gets an assist, which, by the way, hockey, I get the whole thing with hockey assists, but man, they credit some guys with assists when it's like,
it's stupid.
Come on. It's really bad. He had one where he flung it along the boards. 2 guys touched it. Then it went in the middle of the ice. Another guy on the other team touched it. Somebody else scored, and it was like, wait a minute. That's not an assist. He didn't have anything to do with the play. So he gets a point in the next 2 games. And this was a guy that didn't have a 1 point against Boston in the regular season. But playoff time, and I honestly laid off of him in game 3 because I noticed he was getting a ton of shots on goal. I'm 1-1 on Marchment on Dallas. His goal that he had in the game where he had a goal was the most ridiculous. Like fling it at the net and hope something good happens, and a goalie completely whiffed with his glove. Like Andrew, if you did that in a minor league tryout, you would be cut. Like that's how bad the mistake was. Like you wouldn't make the team. That being said, Evander Kane, our good friend Evander Kane, he still can't put up a point against the Kings, even though Edmonton's putting up, huge goals. And again, to your point, it's Draisaitl, it's McDavid, it's Hyman. Maybe that's a guy that he just seems to have goal after goal and point after point against the Kings. So yeah, there are some spots, but the premise of me taking a lot of the unders in the regular season, Andrew, the big thing was on bad teams. Now we're in the playoffs. There's really not bad teams, except for the Islanders. But even then, they're putting up goals. So it's not like you can take guys like Anders Lee to not have a point or anything. So unders are a little bit tough. It's definitely lower volume. And I did not do very many shots on goal prop. But I'm looking at guys like on the Rangers, like Zibanejad. He's going over a ton. I will tell you, Panarin over his shots on goal tonight is probably a must play. What do you have? 0 last game? He had like 7 shots on goal in 1, and then he just wasn't even looking to shoot in game 2. No way that continues. So Panarin on the bounce back would be there. So honestly, as the playoffs go on, I'm only taking a couple guys under points, but I'm looking at some of the bigger name guys over their shots on goal. That's how I'm looking at it.
And I think that's a good idea because, the shots on goal are so separated. Like it's so that's the biggest comparison we should make, I think, to the NBA totals. Like that's the biggest difference is there might still be goals, but the shots on goal are way different. Like they're in game 1 of the Tampa Bay Lightning and Florida Panthers series. Tampa had like 3 shots in the first period. I had a bet on over 24.5 saves for the other team's goalie, and it almost ended up getting there. But I mean, you can't get, and this is what's interesting is you can kind of handicap which teams are the type of team that's going to throw the kitchen sink at you and which teams are just going to look for that perfect play. And I'm very curious to see what's going to happen tomorrow for the Leafs game because, they had a goal that they scored where I think you were kind of talking about where they threw it off a guy's skate and it went in. That's when Bertuzzi got his assist and Domi got the goal or whoever, whatever. That's the thing is there's just not as many shots going on. But, I like to use the website Daily Faceoff, and you can go on and you can kind of look at the lineups where these guys are projected. So for the Avalanche, the top 6 guys, you got Parise, McKinnon, Rantanen, Lehkonen, Middlestat, and Nichushkin. But the guys below that, Miles Wood, Ross Colton, Cogliano, Duhaime. So you go over to the prop bets. And again, I know what you mean, Andy. For some of these guys, you got to lay the price. But if I see someone in 11 of their last 12 games haven't even come close to a point, it almost seems like when some guys are out there, they're out there to pretty much be giving the top guys a break. It's just hey, go out there and don't mess anything up. Go out there and just take care of the puck. We don't need you to score. We have really good players. Go out there and just don't mess anything up. Let our top players get a breather. But I will say the one time in the one example you really can look at unders for some top line guys are on the teams that aren't very good, that probably shouldn't be in the playoffs. And Connor McMichael is one of them. He's minus 190, minus 200, but the Washington Capitals aren't scoring that many goals. So in the NHL, if I told you, hey, tonight this team's going to only score maybe 1 or 2 goals, and you were able to get a really good price on it, McMichael doesn't have a point in 9 of his last 10 games. It's pretty intriguing to look at. For the Capitals right now, for the Islanders, you want to be fading. But honestly, even for the Winnipeg Jets, some of their depth players haven't really been showing up. Monahan doesn't have a point in 7 of his last 8 games. Toffoli doesn't have a point. I was interested to see if I'd hear you because I remember you talked about Toffoli a couple of summers ago, Andy. But he hasn't been playing very well. And then one thing I've noticed as well about this Vancouver Canucks team is that their defense aren't really stepping into the rush. And when you take an under point prop on Quinn Hughes, it's plus money. Quinn Hughes under on his points. Roenick under on his points. Both of those are at really good prices. And again, look at who they're playing, the Nashville Predators. If the Nashville Predator, the way I look at it is this. If you're handicapping the games at home, but you also want some prop action, if you think the Preds are going to win, you might as well also take a couple, small 0.5% plays on under props for the Canucks. I truly believe, Andy, that the Canucks will not win a game in this series without scoring 4 goals. And obviously, I don't think the Preds will win a game in this series unless they limit the Canucks to that many goals. Every game the Predators win will go under, I think. And every game the Canucks win will probably be close to going over. So for some of those top teams, don't be afraid to bet some of the unders, guys, on their point props for some of those bottom tier guys. And then for the teams that are struggling, right now, I wouldn't blame anybody for betting unders on Alexander Ovechkin. I wouldn't, because even though he's the main guy, he's still only one guy. And it's not like it's basketball where he can go up there and get 25 shots up. There's 4 lines of players out there.
Yeah, point this series, and you're getting plus money on that. So, they're coming home. Maybe they get a burst of energy in game 3. But, I'm with you on some of those teams. TJ Oshie has been struggling. So, maybe focus on some of these, the Capitals and the Islanders and see how that works out. Guys, if you could hit the like button, leave us a comment. Tell us what props you've been writing for the last week or so. Tell us what you like for this weekend, and tell us if you agree or disagree with anything that we've been talking about. Love hearing you in the comment section, and love hearing how your plays are going over the last week or so. Promo code that is up for me right now, promo code Andy3, ANDY3, gets a 3-day pass for only $49. Why is this important today? Well, we have 2 5% plays going off tomorrow. We've got a tennis 5% play, And we've got a 5% UFC play running hot in both of those sports and great opportunities to cash. We're on a 6-1 MMA run, and we're on a what are we 8-1 in tennis, and we've only had one other 5% play in tennis this year. We cashed that back in February, so we don't step out very often with 5% plays in tennis, but Saturday is a good one. So 3-day special, you're going to get those two plays as well as all of our NHL and NBA props. 7-2 in NBA props in the playoffs. And we have a bare knuckle fighting championship play that is already up right now. That event goes off on Saturday. So great day to cash in on a 3-day pass. Use a promo code Andy3. We're up 73 units in 2024, closing in on 100 units for the year. And it's still only April. So looking forward to that. Andrew, tell us what you have up. I know you got a big play ready to go for this weekend in NHL, correct?
Yeah, so I did mention to you I like the Saturday board from a fan perspective, but I also found a bet that I really do like. We cashed a 5% NHL playoff bet a few nights ago, and we'll try and do the same thing tomorrow evening in the NHL as well. We'll also have some MLB. We're keeping those team totals going, Andy, just focusing on one team and one team only. And I actually decided to really, lay off the MLB props at the start of the year. I really wanted to gather some info. I didn't want to jump in right away, but now that I have some info, I'm getting back into it with the MLB props. So it's a great weekend, guys, to get a 3-day pass to hop on board for an extended term, all kinds of big plays. And right now, the bigger plays are what are doing well in the NHL. So you don't miss tomorrow's 5% NHL play.
Love it. You want to talk about the Blue Jays, Andrew? I know you enjoy them thoroughly. They're just a source of relaxation, and it's almost like meditating, rooting for the Blue Jays, right?
You know what it is, and it's so funny because like when I see other fan bases complaining about stuff and it's only April, I roll my eyes and tell them to relax. But then when it's your team, you do the same. You do the same thing, right? So George Springer, .224 batting average, Vladdy 214, Bo Bichette 223. Top of the order has been absolutely abysmal. But what's funny, Andy, is that they actually have gotten a lot of help recently from their supporting cast. And I don't know what they would be doing if they weren't getting that. Like, this team would be looking lost. We would be getting shut out in games if they weren't getting help from their supporting cast. I have really disagreed with some stuff that the management crew for the Jays have done over the last few years. One thing that I've liked that they've done is just not hand out those massive contracts as you were worried about there with Pascal or saying that might happen to him earlier on in the show. And you take a look at I'm not saying Vladdy won't get it together, but the biggest worry has to be George Springer. And Andy, you can still get plus 120 on the under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. They're playing the Dodgers that have an unbelievable pitching staff, a great relief bullpen back there. And you've got all kinds of guys in the outfield that are making big plays every single night for the Dodgers. And for Springer, he's not really, let's be real here, he's not reaching the base with his legs. He's only getting on base if it's deep ball, rolls deep into the outfield. He's not really that fast anymore. His exit velocity has been down. He's not hitting the ball very hard. And we're getting plus 120 on the under 1.5. But don't worry. If you want to stop there, if you don't want to stop there, Vladdy Guerrero is plus 105. And in 4 of his last 6 games, he's gone under 1.5 bags. So if you want to bet the overs and you don't like betting unders, maybe take a guy like Dalton Varsho, the guy everybody was laughing at the start of the season because he was underachieving. But now it's the guys that make the big money and the superstars that aren't showing up. So to me, now is the time to fade these guys. And it's April 26th. It's 162 games these guys play. I get it, but that's the whole reason why I'm saying this right now, Andy. Everybody knows that baseball is a very streaky sport. Vladdy all of a sudden could have 4 good days in a row and he's back. The batting average is back. That's how baseball works. But for right now, and the cool thing is I'm not coming out here and telling you guys about this and getting all passionate about a minus 250 here. We're talking about a plus 120 and a plus 105 for 2 guys that are struggling big time. So I hate to see it, Andy, but I'm going to try and make some money off the star players there for the Jays.
Love it, love it. I continually every year get frustrated by baseball betting. I'm very low volume. I had the Marlins and the Braves game. I had the Braves -1.5. They're winning 3-1 basically the entire game. And then in the ninth inning, they give up 3 hits and 2 errors. It's just like, this is why I don't like this is why betting on baseball could just be absolutely infuriating. Just like, and then what do? They win 4-3 in extra innings. So to lose, so they win the game, but you lose your bet. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is the world of betting MLB baseball. I can go over a few plays here in UFC. I'm not sure it's a great props card for UFC. There's some really bad fighters, which this is the UFC 300 hangover, where they used all their really entertaining good fighters. James Lontop and Chris Padilla, I think you could look at under 2.5. It's -180, but you could probably look at that at -180, or if you wanted to use it in a parlay piece. Chris Padilla is a regional fighter at best. Lontop's coming off of Contender Series, and while I was going to bet against Lontop when he was fighting Gabe Green, but this is massive step down in competition. So under 2.5 on that one. Ronnie Yaya and Victor Henry, under 2.5 is +110 in that one. Ronnie Yaya is a few years younger than me, and he looks like it, and he fights like it. This is a guy who, listen, he's a grappler, and that's it. He has absolutely no striking whatsoever. His wrestling is not that good. His lone hope is to try and get Victor Henry in a submission, and if he does that, it'll be in round 1. But looking at Yaya's last fight, he looked terrible. He got finished like a minute 20 into the fight. And Victor Henry's not a power puncher or anything, but if Yaya fights as old as he did in his last fight, Victor Henry could easily get this one. So under 2.5 at plus money is a really good one as well. The Jonathan Pierce, David Onama fight, you could look at that one to not go the distance at a pretty solid number. Those two guys, I could see them totally standing in the middle of the ring and just banging away. And then Austin Lane and Jonata Dinez. Andrew, under 1.5 is -270. -270 for under 1.5. So
Wow.
that's an obvious. Yeah, it's an obvious parlay piece. Austin Lane has never been to decision. All of his fights end early. He's kill or be killed, and most likely he's going to get killed because his striking is not as good as Deniz. So I thought that was interesting. And I know I'm on an island on this one, but I got to give out a plus money play, and that's Ariana Lipski at +136. I cashed on her against Melissa Gatto when everyone was on Gatto. And I think people are still upset about that because she wrecked everyone's parlays. And listen, Greta Silva, she finishes on the ground. She has a lot of finishes. Lipski is just continually getting better and better each fight. And I feel like people are chasing this Ariane Lipski money. Like they keep losing when they bet against her. And so I'm going to get her. And then they're going to go 1-5. And then on the one win, they're going to be like, see? I did it. So we're still getting Lipski at plus money. I think she's much better on the feet. I think she stuffs some takedowns and avoids a submission and squeaks out a close decision win. So those are some UFC props that I think you could be interested in. Anything else you got props wise that we're looking forward to for this weekend, Andrew?
That's about it for this weekend, Andy. As far as any type of pricing goes on some of these series, I will say I liked the Winnipeg Jets at the start of the series. So I'll say it again. If anybody's interested right now, they're +140. It was 1-1. That's a better price than you could have gotten before when the series hadn't begun yet. And the series is shifting back to Colorado. Despite some of the goals the Hellebucks let in, I still trust the Jets defense and their goaltending a bit better. Colorado has the superstars, but I think Winnipeg has the depth. So if anybody wants to join me on that one, Winnipeg +145 to win the series.
Love it. I'm glad you brought up the series plays. I use these series plays in parlays. all the time. Like I'm sitting on a parlay. This was a client play. Nuggets minus 1.5 games against the Lakers. They're up 3-0. That looks good. And then I parlayed that with the Pacers plus 2.5 games. They only need to win one more game in that series. I kind of discovered this one last year. We took the Hurricanes against the Islanders and parlayed it with something in a Formula One race. Like, you can really get creative with some of these series spreads. If you think the series is going to be close, you can grab that plus 2.5 games. So if you're a parlay better like me, like don't ignore some of those series prices. I'm glad you brought that up because there's certainly value in the market. Looking at some of the alt spreads there that you have. You don't have to just look at like I would think most people would look at it and be like, well, the Hurricanes, they're minus 3,500 to win the series. It's like, well, take a minus 1.5 or minus 2.5 games. Islanders are probably done at this point. So hard to see them, making a comeback. So,
Andy, if you ever come out with merch, if you ever come out with merch for your personal brand there, Bump Sports, you got to have it's not how you parlay or that you parlay, it's what you parlay. Because it couldn't be better. And honestly, but here's the deal, and this is a compliment. It works well for you. Some people can't do it because they're betting NBA and they're betting about 8 legs in the exact same game. So it's really true, because if you told someone like I've done really well with like parlays recently, they're like, oh, like what a noob. You know what I mean? Like they think you're making like 9 leggers. Like they think you're just, and that's the way to do it. And CFL season's around the corner here. And all week, if we're going to have a team that's like minus 10.5, if I like a baseball bet, really like, a lot, that they're minus 225, boom, Dodgers minus 225, BC Lions minus whatever. And all of a sudden you've got 2 teams. That's how you do it. And also, I think parlay betting when it's not the same day even is really profitable. Like if you like a UFC fight plus a Formula One matchup plus a really chalked series, like then you're laughing, right? But nobody has the patience for that these days.
And it blows my mind. So last year we were up 91 units in all sport, like just for the year, 91 units. I'm telling you, Andrew, like 18 to 20 of those units was a CFL moneyline winner parlayed with Max Verstappen to win a Formula One race. And it was probably the Argonauts. It was probably I would have to go back. How many times did I parlay the Argonauts to win in the regular season with Max Verstappen to win a Formula One race? I seriously bet it would be 15 to 20 units of our 91 units. But it is true. It absolutely is true that it is not. It's not that you parlay. It's what you parlay. Get creative, and as soon as I will. And you said like not all people have the patience. Once they start hitting, you'll have the patience. Once you start seeing the profits roll in, you'll be kicking yourself that you didn't do it sooner than that. So,
for what it's worth, Andy, I'd buy the shirt. Just so you know, I'd buy the shirt. If you made the shirts, I'd buy it.
All right. Andrew has a 5% NHL best bet that is up at WagerTalk.com. Go and grab that. You can use the promo code Andy3 for a 3-day pass for $49 for me. I've got a 5% tennis play, 5% UFC play that goes off tomorrow. So if you guys could, please hit the like button. Really helps the algorithm out, helps let Wager Talk know we're doing good things for you guys, and say hello in the comment section. Tell us a bet that you like, or if you just want to say hey and that you appreciate all the gambling content, that would work just as well. Good luck on all your plays. Remember, don't overexpose yourself with too many units. Don't want to have too much on one game. Don't want to have too much on one night. Let's protect and keep building those bankrolls. Good luck on all your plays, and we'll see everyone next week on Prop It Up.